Hey everyone, Dr. Z here.
And Mama Z, or Sabrina Ann Zielinski.
And we're so excited that you are joining us for our shopping tour. And this is part of the Essential Oils Diet. We're gonna walk you through some of the best foods you should be focusing on as you go through the various stages of the Essential Oils Diet, like the fast track, where you're gonna lose a lot of weight, rebalance your hormones, reset your metabolism, and how to transition that into the lifestyle. Because as we found out, you can have your gluten-free cake and eat it too. It's just a matter of making sure it's the good, healthy stuff. So any quick tips before we start, babe?
Yeah, to make sure that you get started,
Yep.
and also if you're looking to gain weight or do that in a healthy way, we have that in our book too.
Well, that's it. We're just going to dive right in. We have a great group, and maybe Chris is our camera video guy. We have a great group of lovely people local. We are at Nature's Corner Market in Woodstock, Georgia, and we have some lovely folks here that are going to be walking through the shopping tour, asking good questions. And I think we're going to begin in the produce section, right?
Yes. So one thing that we talk about in our book is the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen.
Yep.
I'm going to have him read that. But again, it's going to be most of your berries and your fruits and any of the thin-skinned things or things like greens. Those are the most pesticided crops. So it's really important when you are going to buy organic that you get the ones that really need to be organic. Like our apples, a lot of the apples, even if you buy them, at a local farmer's market, will either, if they're not organic, they're going to have a lot of the pesticides, but they also have wax and other things on that, which you're not going to find on a lot of the organics.
Have you all heard about the Clean 15 Dirty Dozen? Anyone not? Raise a hand. The Environmental Working Group is a nonprofit organization, EWG.org, and they've done analyses on virtually every product that you could buy, conventional, natural, and they've tested a lot of different produce, and they found that certain produce, you literally don't need organic. So as much as it's fun to say, the likelihood of pesticides to penetrate the skin of a banana, for example, is very slim. And so not only that, but bananas aren't really the type of crop that you need a lot of pesticides for. There are other produce that you just don't need a lot of pesticides to grow. But when it comes to your apples, your broccoli, cauliflower, your greens, and the strawberries, your berries, these are the most polluted crops out there because you need to, just because of the way that farming works. So if you want to save some money, you definitely don't need to buy organic pineapple, organic avocados, organic banana, and I would even say organic oranges and other really thick-skinned fruits and vegetables. But when it comes to those really thin, porous vegetables and fruits, you really need to make sure, especially
strawberries
and
zucchini and
all
summer
your
squash.
greens. So that right
berries.
there saves you a bunch of money, because when you start looking at the price, again, this is pretty affordable, 59 cents per pound, but when you start looking at other products, you really don't need to get organic.
Dr. Z, what about the pesticides and things that come up through the soil into the roots into the fruit?
Yes. And that's where you need to be, and that's where the Environmental Working Group, that's a good question. So what about the pesticides that come through the soil? That's where you have to find those crops that really don't need a lot of pesticide. Like again, the banana farmers aren't using pesticides like strawberry farmers. So that's why you don't need to worry about it as much. But the likelihood too of the pesticides getting sucked up from the roots into the actual fruit that you consume is much lower than you just spraying something topically. It's a good question though.
And it is, we only have 100% control over what we grow in our own yard. But the thing is what is the neighbor spraying their yard with? So you have as much control as we can. We want to be able to do what we can in order to get the cleanest food for our families.
And we want to get food like God designed. Like God didn't design seedless grapes. Think about that. God didn't design seedless watermelon. Sterile fruit will go extinct, right? And so why they've created sterile fruit is because it's sweeter. And people don't like the seeds anymore. But what happens is you're losing nutritional value by eating sterile food. So we're trying to get people going back to the heirloom seeds our grandmas and our grandpas used to eat. Get foods with seeds in them. And I'm telling you something, they're starting to provide them more.
Yes.
It's all about supply and demand, y'all.
Right.
Like if you look at all the ketogenic products right now in the market. Why are they selling this here? Because millions of people are on this diet. We vote with our dollar. So we're starting to vote. We want seeds, right? We want good, healthy foods.
Yes.
And we've traveled overseas. I mean, you don't see the kind of food in Italy and other countries that we have here in America.
No.
It actually tastes like real food.
Right.
It tastes like tomatoes with good chunky seeds, and you can swallow them or you can spit them out, whatever you want. But again, realizing that We want ungenetically modified produce, and we want to get the best that we can.
Absolutely.
Any quick other tips?
Yeah, so one of the other things too is, like, for us, we have a family of 6. So
Yep.
when I buy bananas for the week, because we do shakes and we do use bananas regularly, I buy them in rounds. So I'm going to buy one set that's a greener, one set that's in the middle, and one set that's ready to go. And then sometimes by the end of the week, I have another set that's ready to be made into banana bread or skin and cut, perfectly for shakes in the freezer. So when you buy, figure out how much that you use so that you are timing it out so that it's going to make it to that point. And if it doesn't, then what you're going to do with it so that you don't have any waste. The other thing that we do is any of the greens and things like that, use everything. So I know that we have beetroots and stuff here, but when and I buy some just like that for when I do juicing, or we grade fresh over our salads. But the beet greens are also super nutrient and super dense, and they're just amazing. So making sure that you're using all of what you do and not just cutting a top off or cutting the carrot top off. You can use those things as well. And they can be, some can be fresh, we like to do a variety. We have some that's steamed, we juice some, we have some things fresh over our salads, but really making a plan so that you're using it all. So like if it's getting towards the end and it's about time for you to go shopping, taking the extra kale that you have, either making an omelet with it or making we have a cruciferous crunch like coleslaw that we make that you can do all different kinds of things in it. And in fact, we'll take even the broccoli from here. Usually they have really great broccoli. It's probably in the back. Or their cabbage heads, and then when you shred those things, use all of it. Don't just like cut off the tops and yeah, this part is great, but so is the other part of the vegetable. So you trying to use more of everything so you have less waste. I mean, of course you can always use that stuff in your compost and put it in your garden and stuff like that, but it's better if we can like consume all of that, because yes, it'll be great for the garden, but it'll be even better if we put it in our bodies.
Scraps are great for broth. And that's something I think we need to remember. If I could save you a lot of money, I would encourage you not to buy a lot of these powders. Really, at the end of the day, one thing that we do in the essential oils diet is we recommend really stopping most supplementation while you're letting your body heal. It's a lot for the body to be able to handle all the nutrients that you're just flooding it. And again, going back to our ancestors, they didn't supplement with these multivitamins and things like that. So if you eat good food, you don't need a supplement unless you have a medical condition. And that's something we all need to recognize. If you live up north in America, for example, and it's cold and it's dark, you might need to supplement vitamin D because you don't want to have seasonal depression. But other than very specific targeted supplementation to bring healing to your body, especially if you're under the guidance of a medical professional, you don't need a lot of supplements. If you get it from the food, and if you get it from the sun, and your exercise and doing the things that you need to do. So when it comes to making, all the powders and things like that, we just want to caution y'all, because what you're saving in supplements and powders, you could put into good food. Pam, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I use extra vegetables, like if I'm peeling something, which I don't a lot of times, but if I do, I'll save that in my freezer and then make a vegetable stock with that.
Yeah.
Or any of the tops like you're talking about, or
Yeah.
stalks from kale if I haven't used it for juice.
And I'm
That's
going
awesome.
to where we talk about these tips. Mama Z has some really good tips in the book about getting the most out of your grocery, bulk shopping, freezing. I got to say, as a family of 6, I don't know how we could live without a deep freezer.
Yeah, and our deep freeze went out last year, and we had to defrost it. We bought a frostable one because I had a GM freezer. So it was like from the 40s or the 50s. It was my mom's. And so we bought a new one, and we had to keep defrosting it 3 or 4 times. And so to lose stuff, you really notice the difference when you actually have stuff that works.
And for those of you who have the book, page 90, I'm on page 90, and this is going to benefit. Make the most of your grocery budget. This is really important, y'all. You got to do your research. And we don't get everything at one store. You got to comparison shop, and that's something that Sabrina's done a great job. You should see her spreadsheet. Go here for here, go to this store for this store. Some stores really do well for certain products, and you'll find that you really can save a lot of money by comparison shopping and buying in bulk. But I know not everyone has storage.
Right.
But if you have any extra cabinet space or pantry space, buying things, especially stores like this, local health food stores always have these. Like I love Jill's 50% off cart over there. Anyone come here a lot? You like Jill's 50% cart?
Yeah.
There's this really sweet, if we'll find it, this date sweetened chocolate yumminess that came from God. I don't know what it's called, but it's
He's
like
a chocolate guy.
Yeah, it was just date sweetened with cacao. My kids, it's like hot fudge.
Except for one of them had coffee in it, and he gave it to the 5-year-old the other day. I'm like, this is the one with coffee.
They loved it. And so Jill
do
had it on
that.
sale, 50% off. I got 10 of them. Why? Because I know that we'll use that throughout the year. It's a little bit of a treat.
And what did I say when you came home?
That's why she doesn't like me
He goes,
shopping.
I got surprises. I'm like, oh no. What did you buy and how many of it did you buy?
It's good. But what do we think? Hey, here's the thing though. This is Valentine's season. I just took my daughters to daddy-daughter date yesterday at the church, or 2 days ago, and they were serving ice cream sundaes. Well, we don't eat their ice cream sundaes. You know what I did? I brought her a little chocolate yumminess from God. I brought my little coconut milk ice cream, and I had them have their own chocolate sundae. We don't deny ourselves the things that really my kids want. We have healthy versions of them,
Yes.
right? So that's why having 10 in stock. And plus, I'm not a hoarder, but I feel a little security knowing I have a couple extra.
So what
So
we did,
anyway,
when we lived 2
you wanna-
hours away from the health food store,
Yes.
because when we lived in Michigan, we were literally 2 hours away from Detroit. And so we went once a month and we got all of our dry goods, everything that we did. And then we bought in bulk on the other things where we'd buy a case of this or a case of that. And you know, a case wasn't like 100, it would be like 6 unsweetened coconut milk yogurts or, you know, whatever. But that's what we had access to. So we ended up going to Lowe's and buying just a container.
Yeah, this size.
You know, it was
looked
like a storage thing.
like a wardrobe, something you can easily put together for $100.
My mom and I made extra shelves because it had all the spots for the shelves, and then we had everything organized by type, and then in my spreadsheet, like we went and we figured out what we actually used per month, and then that's how we would have to shop. And now, you know, in this area, we're so blessed, especially with here and with everything being very affordable. But there's so many things around us here that we're able to, you know, access.
So if you're taking notes, I got the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. It's in the book. Again, page 184 and 185. So these are the ones you always, always, always want to get organic because of just the sheer amount of pesticides required to grow them in conventional markets. Strawberries and spinach, nectarines and apples, grapes, peaches, and I can give this to you afterwards, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, and sweet bell peppers. So a lot of it are berries, the grapes, the thin skin. But here's the clean ones, avocados. Interesting enough, sweet corn. They don't spray sweet corn, but you want to make sure your corn's non-GMO.
Yes.
That's the problem with soy and corn and just really a lot of the cash crops or the genetic modification. Pineapples and cabbages, there's not a lot of spraying with those. Onions and sweet peas, if you like papayas, and asparagus, mangoes, and eggplants. You can have melon and kiwis, cauliflower, and broccoli. Like these are the ones that are clean. And if you grow them, you'll see that there's, you know, maybe no offense to broccoli, but I guess a lot of bugs don't like broccoli, so they don't eat them. I don't know. So anyway, no offense to the broccoli farmers. So comparison shop, and I really recommend stop buying individual supplements like vitamin C by itself, vitamin or calcium. By the way, calcium supplementation is a complete waste of money. Tell that to my mom who's been taking calcium for 50 years and she just has osteoporosis. That's one of the lies of the supplement industry. You get enough calcium in your greens and your almonds and nuts than you need. You really do.
So, and when I was in college, because my dad is an agri-scientist, he's one of the people who created GMO corn. That's what he did through Monsanto and Dow Chemical. That's what he did. And you know, they told them, you know, we're feeding the world and all this other stuff. So
like I actually married the enemy.
and we'll fight our whole lives.
I had
against
no
all that.
idea. After we got married, her dad's talking to me about this like project he was doing in California.
Top secret project for the government.
I'm like, you literally invented GMOs? Like literally. Like he was the highest, like one of the highest ranked PhDs in Dow Chemical. And I mean, people are going to take my natural green card away. You know, I call it my natural green card. Like, I'm about as open as you can against GMOs and vaccines and stuff. But you know what? I truly love and respect him. There's definitely a line.
But the
But,
cool thing, and
boy.
it's cool because like when we go, like they're very respectful. They stock the foods that
Yes,
we
he
use,
does.
and they call them, the local golden eggs, and like, and one time we left 2 of them, and he was like, we ate the golden eggs for breakfast, and we're like, we hope you have that all the time. So, but when I was in college, I took chemistry, and as I made it an honors course because chemistry is my sister is a PhD chemist, and so one of the things that I did is I did over 100 or 1,000 hours on whether the cereal companies lie about how much iron is in cereals. And so what we did was, I got to go into the Dow labs to do this, but we pulverized cereal and we had hyperpower magnets, and we were able to pull out all of the Fe+2, the non-digestible iron. And yes, like Total we used mainstream stuff, but Total had much more. But this is all the stuff that you just poop out. This is not like stuff that your body can even take in. And then we used a spectrophotometer to read the other stuff that was left in there afterwards, and it's only trace minerals of things. So we think we're getting all of this stuff, and then really we're not ones that we can actually physically take in.
So to wrap up, this is a big part of the discussion is the produce section. So we're going to spend a lot of time here, and then we're going to go around the other store and really help navigate a lot of the processed foods, which not all processed foods are bad. I mean, frozen foods are fantastic and other things. We're going to help you navigate that. But I want to end with this, really making the most out of your grocery budget is I want to encourage us to be biblical shoppers and think about things in season. I mean, I would argue if God really wanted us to eat apples every single day, the apple orchards up in Georgia would be full bloom and we'd have produce available always. I think we forget that we should be eating in season. And I am of the opinion, just like how we recommend in our essential oils book, not to use the same solution and remedy every single day. Your body can develop resistance.
Just like we don't go to the gym and work out the exact same workout every single day. And you can ask Patty. Patty's one of our fitness models that did our high intensity modified yesterday. When you do a different workout, you feel different the next day. You feel invigorated. You feel sore in different places that you haven't felt sore before. So we want to keep our body guessing. And the same thing is with food too. We don't want to feed it the same thing every day.
So bananas every day, avocados every day. I don't think that's best. I don't. I would switch it up. And I would go to your local health food store and say, what's in season now? And oftentimes that will be the cheapest. You notice how blueberries are really cheap in the summer? Why? Because they're in abundance. That's when you load up on blueberries. Don't be buying $5 a little baby half a pint every day. Right. So just as a thought, I would just encourage y'all to mix it up. And I think we're good. Anything less?
Yes, so a couple other things. So we do really like fermented foods, naturally fermented foods. So we make our own kombucha, but my favorite here is the Golda. I've talked to the people that own that company. I love the way that their process is. So the Golda kombucha, we do make our own, but our Golda, and you can make your own too because they have little kits here, but the Golda is my favorite. One of the other things is people always ask me what condiments are safe, what kind of condiments should we be taking in, what do you do? We love the Bubby's brand, any of their dill brand, because anytime you add sweet, that people are going to have sugar and other things in it. So we really try to avoid that.
And that's naturally fermented. When you guys do your ferments, make sure they're naturally fermented. Most pickles that you get, the conventional brands,
sugar.
They use vinegar and they use sugar, and they're really not fermented. Like this is naturally fermented just with water and salt, how it should be, how our ancestors did.
Artesian water.
Yeah.
So we really like this.
So load up on that too. Again, think about I'm Polish. And so my ancestors in Poland, they would have their cabbage crop. They'd get a ton of cabbage. What do you think they did with it? They'd ferment it to help it last longer. So we really like that and get people back. So now guess what? You don't need a probiotic every day. If you eat good probiotic-rich foods, you don't need to spend your money on that. And so that's why we're really trying to help people save money. Unless you're dealing with a gut issue and you have a health condition that you require extra support, but I don't take a probiotic every day. When I cleanse, I do. If I find myself not feeling well, I do. So again, just to try to save a little bit of money.
Yes, and I really encourage you guys to do something different too. Like if you always gravitate towards this or that, I want you to go ahead and grab your parsnips and stuff like that and mix it up. have something different within your repertoire. If you haven't tried a certain kind of squash or summer squash or other things, really mix it up. And we really like avocados mixed in with a lot of things. So, we might make a healthy, using their amazing local eggs, their tuna or egg salad, and I'll add like an avocado to that. You can mix it up and make things fun and make them different. And so that way you always have something different going on.
Cool.
We're going to come a little bit back. I want to talk about just briefly on having good herbs and spices. But one thing is, you still have your herbs and spices from your wedding. They're probably not good anymore. Your herbs and spices only last 1 year. So, and our health food store gets a regular supply in it, but
That's
you want
really
to date each one of those things. You want to date it with today's date, because then a year from now, you're going to want to make sure that you toss those and get things new. And to check those things too, if you don't know how long it's been, then you want to dump those out and fill them with new. And the great thing is you can bring your containers here and then they can fill them for you. So that's amazing.
And the same thing with your essential oils, y'all.
Yeah.
Essential oils don't have a unlimited life expectancy. So the more oxygen is our enemy, just like how oxygen will rust metal.
Yes.
What happens is the more that you open up your container for your oils and for your herbs, the more that the chemicals start to essentially degrade. Yes. And so you might have a bottle of lemon, you might have some lemon zest, dried lemon zest from 5 years ago, but it's just not as potent. So we're trying to recommend people to store them properly and explain how to store them.
Yes.
But just know the same thing, the same concept applies for essential oils.
So always wanted to store everything in glass. And if this is too big of a glass jar, they do sell the half sizes of these on Amazon, and also at Bed Bath & Beyond. I've tried every single spice rack. They've got like 4 or 5 of them, but I have one that comes out and pulls down, and it fits a size like this or 2 of the small ones. So then you kind of recognize what you use of things. We use the most of this or this, and then kind of adjust accordingly, and then I label them. But what you don't want to do is you don't ever want to take your spices over your hot stove and go like this, because then you trap moisture in, and that starts the molding process.
You didn't think about that, huh? I didn't. She yelled at me.
I yelled at him.
And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm Italian.
Like,
we don't measure anything, and we're just reckless in the
kitchen.
I'm like, and she's like, don't do that. I'm like, what did I do?
You don't measure anything, so you're only going to get a bunch of one-hit wonders, and we want to be able to duplicate what we do.
Right.
And so what you want to do is you want to measure in your hand, and then you want to sprinkle over top. And quite honestly, the difference between, like, if you're talking about in a soup pot or something like that, what you put in your hand, you can always add to it. You can't take away. So if you need to add more, taste it and then add more. And the other thing to think about is when you're adding spices, you really don't want to add a lot of the spices and herbs until the last 10 minutes of cooking if you're using dried or fresh. Because a lot of times you're just going to cook the life out of it, or you'll add way too much because you did it at the start and you don't need all of that until the end. So if you do that properly, and one of the best companies, because we've grown all of our herbs and spices, but the thing is that we use all of that fresh. And I used to supply farmers markets with my fresh herbs and stuff like that as well. So now you really want a good quality dried product, and you can't always do that depending on the environment that you live, because it's a race between dehydration and mold. And so to be able to have a company like Frontier that has a very high standard, and they're a co-op, and you would have to order by the pound, but here they do that for you. So all you have to do is fill up your containers, and it's pennies on the dollar, versus buying, most of the time you're paying more for the jar than you are for the actual content. So the fact that they let you come and fill yours up is just a great way to keep the cost low and keep your spices and the flavor of your food amazing.
Cool, awesome.
Okay.
And a quick tip, when using essential oils to replace herbs, it's typically 1 drop of essential oil or 2 per teaspoon. So if your recipe calls for a teaspoon of cumin, for example, you can use a drop. And a drop is all you really need for a lot of your recipes. But we really incorporate in the book how to use literally fat-burning essential oils like lime, grapefruit. Just research has shown if you literally just smell grapefruit, if you smell lime, it triggers what's known as lipolysis in the brain. It tells your brain that you're satiated, that you're happy, that you need to start burning fat. And so what we have in the book, and we can share with you too, the roller bottle recipes that are really easy to make. You can actually apply them over your stomach, over some areas under your arm, back your thighs. You might have some cellulite or any problem areas, and this is something that Sabrina does when she trains for pageant, which, by the way, last year she had first runner-up in Mrs. Georgia. She won swimsuit, competing with girls half of her age, and you should see her mummy wrap every other day during her training,
Right.
because essential oils can really help oxygenate your skin, burn fat, and so that's what we're trying to incorporate people. That's why it's called the Essential Oils Diet, because there's a lot you could do. You've never had guacamole unless you had a little bit of cilantro, but also a drop of lime. It's heaven.
And
it really is.
And the general rule of thumb when you're using essential oils in place of extracts, especially when you're talking about citrus or mints, it's 3 drops for every 1 teaspoon that it calls for of extract.
Yep, like a lemon extract or vanilla. So you could use, essential oils can be used for culinary purposes all day long, every day. So we should probably get going,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're good? We
Yes.
got lots of other tips to share.
And you'll have to see what Andrea does, because she's also a health coach, and she works on people on Fridays with your Cavitron machine, and that's really powerful too with essential oils. So if you have issues where you're losing a lot of weight and you have other skin and skin tightening things, and you might be losing weight faster than the skin is tightening, then incorporating some of these techniques is a really powerful way to be able to manage all of that.
Just a couple notes about the bulk section. Not to get gross, but we bought things at some co-ops and other stores that they didn't move product, and maybe some worms or some things ended up in bulk. So here's something, and think about this when it comes to your favorite salad bar or something like that. You know, you don't want to go to the all-you-can-eat buffet and you're the only person there, right? You want move to be moving. So one thing I like about this store is things move.
Yes.
And you can ask them, say, hey, when's the last time you've stocked this? So I want to help you navigate this, and just know that some things, and especially some of the ones, and I know that the owners of this store have a really high standard.
Yes.
We've been to some really like granola, low-end scale health food stores that don't have as high of a standard, and they have product are in the shelves for a year.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I opened up one of the either rice or one of the containers of flour, and things came out.
Yeah. So
You'll
again,
never find that here.
So, well, that's the thing. You want to ask and say, hey, how often do you circulate? That's a very fair question to ask somebody that, and all these people that stock this will know. But it also is a great idea. We love bulk. Like, we do bulk herbs, we do bulk products, but just something that you might want to consider. Sometimes it's actually cheaper to buy the prepackaged, because the manufacturers are trying to compete. So just do a quick comparison shop. Is it cheaper to get a pound here, or is it cheaper to get a pound over there in the prepackaged aisle?
Or do you know that you only use a half a pound a month and you want it to be fresher? Then making those decisions too.
Yep. So I just want to let y'all know this isn't free for all. And especially you want to really vet out. Yeah, we're good. Oh, a question? Anyone? No, you're
Okay,
talking
and
to
we're
Chris.
going to end up coming back here because they will have some free samples.
Now or later?
Later.
Cool.
And I have, and they're going to have some of my favorite staple juices that we do, vegetable juices. I let them do the regular one versus my Mama Z adaptation, because I always take apple out and I add extra beet and ginger, and I know not everybody's a ginger fan, so but I am. So they're going to have some samples for us a little bit later.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go over and talk about some snacks. So we got lots of good nut snacks. Of course, our favorite is going to be anything that's raw, organic, and sprouted. This is one of our favorite areas right here. So when we travel with a food suitcase, and we have a go bag when we're like in the States. And so like this one, I make a special recipe that's in the book, and it's my essential nut recipe. And basically,
I think it's called between meals.
Between
or
gaps,
snack.
between the gaps nuts. Yeah, and so I combine a lot of these together and just put just a touch of raw or manuka honey, and then either pumpkin pie spice or cinnamon, a little bit of cayenne, and then, I mean, it's so just enough of that just to toss it. And people always ask about my nuts all the time, and I take them anywhere and my nuts are gone because everybody wants some of these nuts. So this is what we use when we make our between the GAPS nuts.
So one big part of our diet program is no sugar. And no sugar meaning white processed sugar that has absolutely no benefit to anything. And the key is knowing the aliases. Evaporated cane juice, that's not good, right? Maltodextrin, that's another version. Glucose, fructose.
But Eric, what if it's organic?
Yeah, the same thing. Well, what's a succant, right? Or succinant, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be able to pronounce that. What's that?
Sucanat.
Succinant. And what are the other ones? Like sugar in the raw, right? So at the end of the day, I kind of put things into perspective. God gave us the sugar cane that we could go chew on and enjoy, and it gives us a nice, if we chew on it and swallow the juices that come from chewing the sugar cane, our blood glucose is a nice bell curve. And typically speaking, you're only getting just a little tiny bit. When you have a snack or a food that has any sort of, quote, sugar in it, your blood sugar goes like this and it spikes down. And that's one of the main contributing causes of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, inflammation, autoimmunity. So when it comes to this whole section, if I see the word sugar, evaporated cane juice, anything like that, I won't even touch it.
Right. There's over 100 names that mask itself as sugar. And
we all know that corn syrup isn't good, high fructose corn syrup. We're kind of going beyond that, right? And there's a lot of organic sugar that we don't do. Now, here's the thing. I have found that coconut sugar, honey, or basically crystallized coconut, honey crystals, date sugar, these are natural versions that I have found that is extracted in such a way that my body responds well to that in just small dosages, okay? But that's just me. Sabrina doesn't do so well with other things. So you want to sample, you want to try. Like some of these have they're really good, and they're sweetened with just a little bit of coconut sugar, a little bit of honey, or whatever it might be. I would encourage you to try it. At least I know that it doesn't have the harmful effects that white sugar does. Like I'm really against white sugar for a number of reasons. White flour, white sugar, white table salt, because they end up bleaching and stripping all nutrition. At least coconut sugar has nutrition to it. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just interject something? And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the app called Fujicate.
Yep, I have it. Yep.
And so it's a really great resource.
The Fujicate app.
Yep, I have it.
And it'll give you different resources and information about different types of sugars and
Yeah, so if you scan something, it'll say, it'll give only like this kind of a rating because it has this, which also means sugar.
It's free, right?
It's free.
It is.
So you can get the Fujicate.
Yep.
You can scan your foods when you go to the grocery
Yep.
store.
Yep.
So it gives you a lot of really good.
And that gives you a baseline for someone who's like, what do I do? Where do I start?
That's it.
So, and one thing that we don't touch base on at all in the diet book are the labels. Like it absolutely doesn't matter how much fat, how much carbs, how much protein, how much vitamins and minerals are in anything. What matters are what are you eating?
That's
the
right.
most important thing are what are the ingredients. So when I get this, for example, I'm looking at the ingredients only. I never look at the numbers. 100%. We're trying to get you all this whole calorie counting thing, these whole diets that restrict certain amount of macronutrients.
So my friend came, and she's a diet challenger right now,
Yep.
and so I got to be there for the sugar detox part of that, and so it was a process. But she goes, where's your scale? And I said, do we have a scale? And then I said, oh, we might have a scale. And then we found it. It was holding up the toilet brush in the boys' room, but it was on like 60 pounds, and it clearly wasn't. So obviously it doesn't have a battery, and it's not calibrated. So we don't get on the scale. Like we don't. That's one thing that we don't. And I know that that's a measure and a marker, but so are your clothes. So are how you feel and how your skin looks. And so it doesn't have to be all pounds and stuff like that, because muscle weighs more than fat. So it's important to look at a lot of different factors too.
And so when Sabrina won swimsuit last year in her competition,
I don't know what
weight was not part of it. And in fact, I remember asking you, and you're like, I don't want to know, I don't need to know. It was actually a deterrent from doing what she needed that she knew how to do. And you look great. You're ripped, and you're competing with girls half your age. So.
And we have 4 kids, so
so we want to encourage people.
We want people to know that you can do it no matter what
Yes.
walk of life you're in. One of our ladies that came yesterday to do testimonials, she's been to all of our classes. She's 87 years old, and it was so cool. She's like, you just have to get out there and do it, and it was very cool. So, if a mom and an 87-year-old lady can do it, you can do it too.
All right, I want to go down this aisle really
Yep.
quick. Just a couple quick notes. Dried food, man, raisins are in the Bible. Dried figs are in the Bible. I want to encourage us. It can't be in every meal. You shouldn't be overdoing it.
Right.
But I want to let people know there's a lot of freedom in what we share. So dried foods, I want to encourage you, especially for kids. If you want nuts and dried fruit, it's great. But make sure, though, they are not sweetened.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And if they are sweetened, make sure that they're naturally sweetened. But just know, you just don't want to just, I would rather have just naturally sweetened. Right?
So people always ask me, okay, well, if I'm not doing like a probiotic, or do I need to eat like a dump truck load full of yogurt? And I'm like, well, you would have to if you eat the stuff that they tell you on the commercials, because it's all sweetened with sugar. And if you're going to help your cultures in your body, that's not going to do very much. But people are like, okay, well, I've got kids. What do I do with the kids? They want, they need something nutritious in their lunch. So we use the, and we'll see it in the dairy case, but we use the unsweetened and the unsweetened vanilla coconut milk yogurt. And then we use a few eyedroppers of stevia, a drop or two of essential oils, and then we'll mix different dried organic fruits in, and that's how we make our kids yogurt for their lunches.
That's yummy. That's a great recipe.
We alternate everything
Yeah.
that we do within their diet and
That's
everything.
good.
So we might have it might be breakfast night on Monday, but we change exactly what we do every single week. Same thing with their lunches. We change out the flavors and all the different things that we do. Sometimes we add nut toppings. Sometimes we do different things. So just to keep it, so that they're always having something fun, and that's something that they can get and look forward to.
So I'm going to help quick talk snacks. If you guys want to follow our plan, we have a 30-day fast track. It's called the Boot Camp. And it's really just, again, it's very restrictive because we're trying to help you get control. Eat to live, not live to eat. We're trying to help overcome the sugar addiction. We're trying to help reset your metabolism, reset your hormones. So a lot of this stuff is not cool, is not approved on the fast track. But you know what? We eat this stuff regularly, not every day for every meal, but we enjoy snacks, especially with kids, and I want to help you navigate one thing, is that stay away, again, from the sugar stuff, right? You can have a lot of nice things when it comes to the chocolates. I would focus on stevia, and I would focus on the honey. This is a great product right here. Just straight up honey and cacao. You can make this easy by yourself,
And
by the
peppermint
way.
oil, 3 ingredients.
Again, you're looking gum. We love this spry gum. Here's something about xylitol I want to caution y'all. Xylitol is a sugar alcohol, and erythritol or sugar alcohols your body can't properly digest, but it's not going to kill you. A little bit chewing gum, having a little piece of chocolate with xylitol or erythritol won't kill you. But if you consume too much of it, it will cause gas, or can, indigestion and gut issues, because again, your body can't metabolize it properly. Mm-hmm. So again, this stuff is just a little bit, not every day. And I want to caution you from making these recipes that require a cup of xylitol. That's not what we want to do. We really, really don't. But there's a lot of nice things. Again, stay away from sugar. Lily's is a good brand. When it comes to their no sugar added, it's stevia sweetened with a little bit of xylitol.
And they have
This stuff
they
is
have
great.
chips, and they have other baking chocolate that you can use, or you can use. So if you have a recipe that has 1 square of baking chocolate, you can use it's 3 tablespoons of cacao and 1
Yes.
tablespoon of coconut oil is the equivalent of that. So you can use organic cacao, obviously, in its place. One thing about the health food store, and this is something that both Jill and I are also passionate about, is everybody's at a different place in their journey, and so not everybody right away is able to go to nuts and berries. And one thing a doctor friend of ours said many years ago is, if your husband is stuck on the Oreos, then get him to switch to Newton's O's. And as you're switching other things, those taste buds will change, and you'll want other things. So they really cater to every part of the spectrum of where you're at within your health journey, so that every spectrum part is available at the health food store. So when you're ready to step it up to the next level, then that level is available too at the health food store.
We enjoy non-GMO popcorn once in a while. Again, not every day. I love these Cassava Puffs. My kids and I love these things. These are for people that want to go grain-free. These are nice little treats. I mean, there's a lot. Here's the thing though. This is a lifestyle for us. And we're not going to say you can never have this stuff for the rest of your life, eat rice cakes and just eat greens all the time. But you know, there are certain things that are filled with sugar that's not GM, that has genetically modified things in it. We stay away from soy almost completely. We try to stay away completely of all dairy products, absolutely, and just the sugar. So once you get down to it,
and the top inflammatories.
look at the oils that they
Your
use. We
wheat,
like the coconut
sugar,
oil. We
gluten.
like the avocado oil. The nice thing about these products is they say they're non-GMO and they're made with organic coconut oil. You're not using peanut oil and things. So that's at the end of the day, we want you to be able to enjoy life. And
Right.
that's why we love these stores, because there's a lot of freedom,
And
a
there's
lot of
our-
things that you could do.
Our two favorites are on the next aisle, and that's the Siete chips and the
Yes.
Simple Mills brand.
And let me save you money, y'all. We just passed the bar section, just as a thought. You don't need it unless you're hiking or something. It's a very good
so
thing if
people
you're
do
out
ask,
on the go.
People do ask what if I have an issue, because being a nursing mom, being
Yep.
being pregnant, I've been pregnant a lot, I get to the point where I've had to nurse on the go, and I might have a problem. So there's a couple bars that I do really like, and I like to highlight that. And this is like the Go macro bars, as long as it's stevia sweetened, and also the paleo and the pagan bars. If I have to do a bar, like this is what I have in my car, because for me, and you have to test things with your own body too. If your body, like within 30 minutes, doesn't respond well, then maybe that's not the right fit for you. But I always make sure it doesn't have sugar, but you just see how your body. And this doesn't have sugar, alcohols. It's GMO-free, gluten-free, yada yada. But this is really important to find something. So I found, being a nursing mom, if I have these things, then I know, or I have a pack of nuts that I know. If I have 30 minutes, but sometimes when I've nursed and then I get going and I'm so busy and then I realize I'm going to crash, and just because of being pregnant or nursing. But this is a good variety because it has the things that really help to pick me back up. So
And
if
this
you
is a
have
big tip too. Again, we like to snack sometimes when it's appropriate. But one thing that I learned through my research is that if you really want to lose weight or reach your ideal weight, you don't want to snack. You want to have those times when your body is in the famine stage. We hear the new phrase intermittent fasting. It's basically a catch-all for just stop snacking. And if you eat dinner at 7 at night and then you don't have breakfast till 7 or 8 in the morning, that's 12, 13 hours. So one thing I want to encourage you all to do is enjoy hunger again. Because I found myself literally drinking water throughout the day, nibbling on things like nuts and carrot sticks. And when I sat down for dinner, I wasn't hungry. And then dinner didn't taste good.
And then I made a whole dinner and he was like, oh, I'm not hungry.
Yeah. I found myself in this trap where I was told, if you want to lose weight, you got to constantly eat. Well, who said that? That doesn't make any sense. But you know why it doesn't make sense? Because you never give your digestive system time to rest. And that's the whole purpose of what we're trying to help people do, is if you want to heal of any aches and pains and people that are treating cancer and autoimmunity, you got to give your digestive system a time to calm down, relax, build up your immunity, so your body's now fighting disease instead of constantly digesting food. People don't realize every time we eat, it slows everything down because the body's got to work. So I'm a big fan of not snacking, and I'm a big fan of only having 1 or 2 meals a day. And I'm really hungry and I enjoy those meals.
So as you're transitioning out of snacks, or for what we do for, if you want to come
Like
down
get-togethers?
the side.
Yeah, for get-togethers and holiday functions.
Yeah. So for our
come on in
get-togethers
and have
or
some-
holiday
come over here.
functions, I'm going to talk about 3 different products. This is the Siete brand. This is a grain-free tortilla chip. This is a fabulous option.
And you guys can come around the other end too.
And one of the things to think about is, the first thing, there's been times I've been in the health food store here, and I can tell if somebody's looking lost, and I always ask them, well, what are you looking for? And the first thing people will go to is the nutrition facts instead of the ingredients, like he mentioned earlier, because this has great ingredients, and they were like, well, this is not that different from my tortilla chips, so what about that? And I'm like, but it's the ingredients that are in there and what it does for your body. So it's really important to remember. So when you're having gatherings, this is the stuff that we use, and people cannot tell the difference between that or even tortilla chips. And I really like, I stay away from this one only because it does have dairy in it, and I'm
We
very
like the
sensitive.
Simple Mills brand. It's almond flour.
Simple Mills.
It's
and love that.
it's hypoallergenic, and a lot of
Yeah.
people, especially on our plan, we
Yeah.
really get people off the first month to really help
Yeah.
reset their metabolism. No grains at all.
The one
We just
thing
want to really allow the body
Right.
to settle in. And most grains, a lot of people are finding that they're inflammatory. So almond flour products have been a saving grace, and Simple Mills is a great
Absolutely,
brand.
and they do have some cookies too for the kids. But again, their chips
Well, I don't
aren't
mind
sweetened
these,
with-
and for daddies.
Yeah, I'm not.
know,
as
not
much
just
of
for the kids.
He's a cookie guy.
I
I'm
like
not-
cookies. I'm not a big cake person, but these are good cookies.
They
They're,
do have sugar.
what's that?
They have coconut sugar.
Yeah, it's coconut.
Yeah.
Again, I could do good with that.
But the
for those
ones
people
that have
who, yeah.
chips in them, those do have sugar. So you do want to avoid the ones that have the baking chips.
What? Yeah, good question. What if crunchy and salty is my thing? What's that? If that's my
Definitely
not
is.
weakness, but what that's my desire. What are your tops for crunchy and salty?
So definitely they have a sun-dried tomato cracker. They have one that's rosemary, and then they have
The
one
almond
that's
flour
sea
one?
salt.
It's very
and those
good.
are fabulous and super crispy, and so are the Siete brands. So that's
Yeah.
good. But we also need to make sure that we entertain all of those flavors. You know, your sour, your bitter, your sweet, and your salty. And we've got it. If we continually introduce our palate with that, then it'll bring that need back too. And that's why it's really important to not forget some of those other things too. But definitely,
That's where I like dips.
that.
That's where I
Yeah.
like making fresh guacamole and fresh hummus, and I'll
Yep.
have some non-GMO corn chips.
Yeah.
Again, just a little bit, not
that
every
is
day,
really
every
good for
single
some
meal.
nice-
But see, the difference is we're just not shoving our face worth of just chips. It's part of something. It's like, hey, let me have a dip.
Yeah.
Vegan. Sabrina makes a great vegan taco dip that's extremely healthy for you. And again, the hummuses, your
Yeah.
bean dips and things.
Yep.
That's where you could get that. But telling your body, no, I'm just not going to do this, kind of retrains things too.
Right.
You know. Anyway.
So people always ask me because with his Italian background, and we cook a lot of Italian foods. We grew tomatoes. We were the largest supplier of basil in our area. So, and we personally grow over 12 different varieties, but there's actually over 150 varieties of basil. And so we make lots of pestos and all kinds of different nutritious things. And people are like, okay, well, I really love the pastas. Bread isn't my thing. Pasta is my thing. What do I do? And so it all depends in like what phase you're at. But I absolutely love the Capello's brand. The Capello's brand is an almond flour pasta, and they have a naked crust as well. And they
Capello's?
carry it at the other store. They carry the
fantastic.
naked crust at the other store. And the naked crust is basically the almond flour, like a flat crusted pizza that you can add your own sauce and other things to it as well. So that is one of my top brands. Then they also have Lasagna Sheets, and they're fresh lasagna sheets, like the ones that we make. But this one has
I love
he likes
sheep's milk
Gosh, I
and
can't do
goat's
it.
milk. I do very well with that.
I don't.
Versus
Me.
regular cow milk, and I find myself I do very well with this, and I love this. And we don't have it every day, of course, but this is a nice little treat if you don't want to make your own pizza.
And they
pizza
have the
crust.
naked one that you can add your own
Yep.
things to. So he's the goaty and sheepy guy, and I don't do any dairies at
And
all.
that's one thing too we try to teach. Like, where's your like again? I'm Sicilian, and my family's from Poland, so
Mm-hmm.
I find myself I do good with wheat. I do again. It has to be the right kind of grains. I do good with certain things, but again, it makes sense because my ancestors have been eating this way. That's why I really don't like diets that say you have to eat this. And well, says who? There are sensitivities and there are personal preferences. So find what works for you. And sometimes it is trial and error. You might eat this, we're like, ooh, that doesn't make me feel good. Or you might be like
Right.
me and be like, wow, I feel great.
So and earlier in our process, when our oldest was a baby, and I knew I was very sensitive to wheat, but we thought that the sprouted, like the Ezekiel breads and stuff like that, would be fine. And my daughter's bottom literally was like, I would wipe her and it would run with blood. And we have such a sensitivity to the wheat, even sprouted, that for us it still is inflammatory, and so I have to clearly stay away from that. Where he can do some of the raw dairy type things, and I definitely can't. And doing the research that I've done, all of my families are O blood types, and so that is kind of what goes along with that as well. The other thing that people always ask about the pastas is is how do I do gluten-free versus regular, and what is the difference if I'm going to use a traditional pasta?
There. Thank you.
So or a brown rice pasta, because it was funny. I remember hearing Mario Batali. We're gonna take it around this way. I remember hearing Mario Batali say, "Yeah, you never want to oil or salt your water." And I thought, well, Mario Batali has never cooked gluten-free but I did see he had a gluten-free brochure out, so maybe he's learned a little different now. But the biggest thing is that if you are going to use an organic brown rice pasta, it's really important to make sure you do oil your water and salt your water before you put your pasta in, and then put it in, and then stir frequently. And if it says 7 to 10 minutes, you want to turn it off at that 7-minute mark and give it like 1 more minute to rest, pour it off, and then put your olive oil or an oil sauce back on it, because what happens is it's very porous because it is rice, and it's going to suck that up. And even if you put a generous amount, it's going to suck all of that up. So when we make something ahead of time for the kids, then I have, the sauce that I make, and I make sure that there's extra oil in it, it'll actually absorb all of it, and then we have to put a layer on top of it. So it's just really important to remember. People are like, oh, I've tried that gluten-free and that was not for me. Well, you maybe just haven't done it in that way, but it'll change things, because it will be a lot more of what you traditionally enjoy when it comes to pastas.
Yep. And when you're looking at the sauce, try to stay away from the one that has sugar in it. Ideally, you can make your own, but there are ones that are unsweetened.
There is Bragaminos down there. That's one of my staples.
Oh,
people
can you
always,
get that?
Yeah, people
Show
always
that.
ask me, what's in your purse? And so I have 4 things at even a black tie event that are in my purse.
Can you get another one?
Yeah. And, what's in my purse. So
Have these?
This is what's in my
the
purse.
Best soy sauce.
So this is
and
a
just
soy sauce
seasoning.
and Worcestershire.
This is such a staple.
Replacement.
Yep.
And what we do is, whatever it calls for either of those, you double it, and you can do that with Bragaminos. And it's
basically everything that Bragg produces. They have the best books. Bragg,
Yep.
Paul Bragg was the founder of the first health food store. He's the one who nursed Jack LaLanne back to health, being on his deathbed at 15 years old. So people don't understand that there's deep roots here, and everything they do is really good. And they need to know, like,
from their seasonings to their apple cider vinegar, etc.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go around the other side. This is our baking aisle. I've tried every different kind of combination and baking goodies and stuff, and I'm going to talk about my combination that I use for baked goods, but gluten-free flours. So, 15 years ago on the market, there was only one, and that was the Bob's Red Mill that was made out of a lot of the beans and stuff like that. And my stomach could not take that. Because of being an O blood type, that was not something. He did just fine. That was like the tootiest flour on the planet, and I couldn't do that. So my favorite is I like the Namaste. I like some of the different ones that they have, but my absolute favorite is the Trader Joe's one, because it doesn't have the xanthan gum in it. The closest second choice is the 1-to-1 gluten-free on the baking flour with the Bob's Red Mill, but it does contain that. But if you look at nuts and bolts, like, and all the other ingredients and what it has, this one is probably the closest gluten-free that acts like a flour that people are used to for when they're baking. And my mom was a baker for a yacht club, so I test out all my baked goods on my dad, because he is like, if he asks for a second piece, I know it's really good.
This is a good one.
And it can pass inspection.
Now this is something, I haven't seen this one. This is sprouted brown rice, sprouted oat, sprouted sorghum. So there's a lot of new products coming out, but I would say this would be one thing we like to do is mix a variety of different kinds. So if you don't live near a Trader Joe's, for example, you could get the 1-to-1 and you could try something like this, but this is good. The difference is some of them don't rise and puff like others. You just have to experiment, y'all, and your oven and your elevation, depending on where you live, all matters.
It does.
So there's some really good ones. I really like the sprouted.
And then if you don't have a
this one too, the
gluten
ancient grain.
sensitivity and you are fine with spelt,
Barley,
the biggest thing
kamut.
is you need to make sure that
this
it's
has gluten in it, so Paloma doesn't wanna
100%
go gluten,
organic
but still.
on the spelt if you're going to use it, because we do have some recipes that
Isn't
are
that nice?
gluten friendly and they
lot of
do
cool
include
things.
that. But if you are celiac, then that is not even an option for
you
you.
can't have your cake and eat
So
it, too.
oils, people always want to know when I'm cooking. I do use spray oils. What are the best ones to use? And I do really like these two because they are extra virgin. This does have a nice coconutty flavor. The other thing is that using the right kind of oils based on their heat and the heat that they're supposed to be cooked at. Like your olive oil is really only your medium heats,
their chocolate.
and your grapeseed oil and your coconut oil are your high heats. So you want to make sure that you're picking
I'm
the
just gonna
right
give you
thing
some stuff. We're gonna give them
for
the
that.
best of the best of baking.
This is the baking chips that I had
Those
mentioned
are the
earlier, and they
ones.
do have a baking bar. Our favorite when it comes to stevia. So when I take and I grow my stevia, my organic stevia, it's green. When I
Soy
pick it,
lecithin.
it's green.
Yeah, that's a good question.
When I take it
Actually,
off, and I put it in the dehydrator, it's still
You-
green.
uh,
I take it off of the
Have you tried?
dried and I crumble it.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, I'll
still
say-
green.
I
It's
think I
not
should be fine.
white.
I'll explain that.
And so what happens is it's very magnetic, so it like sticks together. So unless you're gonna blend it
Primarily.
with the green, it's much better to go with a liquid stevia. Liquid stevia will not give you the aftertaste because a lot of the more processed ones will give you an aftertaste.
Hey,
So
we had a really good question about this. It includes soy lecithin, all right? So what do you do when it comes to fillers? I will tell you something, it's something that I am willing to have a healthy compromise about when it comes to a non-GMO soy product like this. This is a huge difference than eating a lot of tofu or having soy milk. I have not met anyone who has any kind of indigestive issues with a soy lecithin, which is one ingredient, part of many. So if you're avoiding soy because you have autoimmunity or a health issue, typically speaking, this should be okay. I mean, it's just one little itty bit, but again, we're not, again, think of 4 or 5 of these chips in a cookie. You're not eating the whole bag. So a lot of the concern that we have is doses, micro dose versus macro doses.
Yeah.
So again, I want to give a little bit of freedom that once your body's at a point where your body is restored and your gut system is healthy, you could eat a lot of this stuff. But again, you're not going to find this in nature. But
Yeah.
good question.
Right.
I have found that a lot of people do well with this. Yeah, good question.
So this is the Cal brand. This is our favorite when it comes to stevia. It has apple cider vinegar in it. Also the sweet drops. It's a food grade essential oil that they use in there. So just so you know what it is. But we use the different kinds of stevia, and then we also use the plain stevia with essential
I'm
oils
fine with
as
that
well.
because they all have
When
erythritol in it,
we
too.
make baked goods,
Just a little
like
bit,
at
you know.
Christmas per se, I
that's a
take
big
and I
popular
take the
one.
maple sugar and I mix it with
And
the
how your
date
body's
sugar and
responsive,
coconut sugar together.
Find you get
And
bloated,
then
you not-
if a baked good calls for 1 cup of sugar, I'll use a half a
Love it.
cup to 3/4 of a
It's a
cup
staple for us.
of this mixture that I make to substitute for the things that I make. And again, I'm not a cookie person. He is, and he's sampled lots of the cookies, and he loves them.
Cool.
So I know that Dr. Z's happy, and that is a good way to kind of blend that together. Also, for a healthy powdered sugar alternative, I take the coconut sugar and I put it in my food processor with a tapioca starch or an arrowroot powder, and I create my own. Now again, you're not going to get the same color and consistency, but usually we're making lemon or we're making other kinds, so the natural looking color for it, I usually have it go with what I'm making. And so I'll have essential oils in there, and I'll have other things, or I'll have like the outside of a lemon rind in there, so it'll have a natural look to it anyways. But it tastes amazing, and then that way you can avoid some of the other things, because even the pre-processed ones that are in a jar, they all have some form of sugar in them. So this is a way to do it naturally.
One thing that's really important, frozen isn't bad. Sometimes frozen is actually healthier than some of the stuff that you get fresh, if the fresh isn't. Organic frozen is a fantastic way of having some things on hand for your stir fries, for your soups and salads. Especially your smoothies. I love smoothies. You can go here and get an acai bowl. You can make your own. I would encourage y'all to really stock up on some organic, fresh fruits and vegetables. That's a great staple to have. And keep your eye open, again, for some things that are on sale because you can get them in bulk.
Right, because they're organic, they're flash frozen, and they're usually picked in its ripest season.
Yep.
So a lot of moms ask me, okay, like I know all bread is bad, but what do I do for my kids at school? And one of the
Well, all bread isn't bad.
I'm just saying this is what I get in my email box. So the cinnamon raisin millet Sammy's bread is about the closest and the tightest that you can get as far as for kids for school. I love the way that they do this, so I'm not as much of a bread person. So, but this is really about the tightest that I've seen without making it myself. So a lot of times people, want other options. There's a few other ones that we use, but this is a great brand for that. So I went into a Meijer up in Michigan because that's like a Target, super center or a Walmart, kind of an upgraded Walmart. I looked at every box that I saw that I could grab of cereal in their aisle, and I should have called it the sugar aisle because every single box had sugar, 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 and more sugar. And so there are a few that we recommend for kids who really want to do something quick or that it's a necessary thing in their family, or you want to alternate and you're doing eggs one day and cereal another day and alternate it like we do. And so there's a couple. Come on in. Okay. So
I'm gonna give it that.
Yep.
Love O's.
I love the Love Grown O's and this one.
These.
This has one ingredient.
I know.
Puff rice.
You gotta
That's
love
it.
coconut. This one. No
One.
Coconut.
Oh, puffed brown rice. Excuse me. And this is one that's lots of beans and stuff like that. And so if you're someone that has more sensitivity, that may not be the best thing, but the other one is great. And these are another
We like the Kia brand
to mix it up if you want something that has a little bit more denseness. But the
They're
other ones,
sprouted, gluten-free, sweetened with coconut palm sugar, just a little bit, not too much, but again, enough just to give you that little hankering. Again, we don't recommend eating this every single day, but if you want something, a little snack,
Yep.
or on the road.
Yep.
But the healthiest of all, and going back to what God gave Ezekiel 4.9 is fantastic, and people get a lot of rap for gluten. I'm telling you something, we should be able to consume gluten like our ancestors did, and if we can't, it's typically a reason because our body's in a disease state. So our point is to help heal the body so we can eat the foods that we've really been designed by God to eat. And our ancestors ate wheat for thousands and thousands of years. So having something sprouted in its natural form, organic, is so key. But gluten-free, we're not really too concerned about gluten-free once we get people to a point where they're healthy.
Right.
But if you're in a point where you're just not feeling too good, you might want to stay away because a lot of the products that you're eating are with a special hybridized gluten that is too much. It's not, basically the wheat that we have in America isn't what Jesus ate. And that's why most countries won't import our wheat. But you go to Italy, and it's called the Italian paradox. It's proven that celiac, straight up, you are allergic to wheat. They go to Italy, they eat all the pizzas and breads, and they're fine. It's a completely different crop. So we're trying to educate, like wheat and gluten and stuff isn't of the devil, but there are ways to ease yourself into that. And Ezekiel bread and this too. But, be careful.
Yeah, listen to your body because we all have bio-individuality and we're all different. He and I are even different with
be careful.
how we have to eat. And that's why it's really important to find out what works best for your body.
Cool.
So this is the nut butter section. For those of you that have tried every different one under the sun, which we have, we really like certain ones. We always get the unsweetened. If it's sea salt, we'll use that, or unsalted. This is one that is amazing and it's worth every cent. The Nutso one, it's amazing, and it literally is called Power Fuel, and it has cashews, almonds, Brazil nuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, hazelnuts, pumpkin seeds, and Celtic sea salt. So this is one of the ones that we like.
I add a little bit of stevia to it. The kids love it. And if you
never do, but they still like it when I
If you get lipospheric vitamin C, it's this a lipid encapsulated vitamin C. You mix that with a little bit of stevia. That's great for the flu season. On our website, You can go type up immune boosting shot. There's a lot of ways that we, kind of how you sneak in the medicine for the dogs. We sneak in the high power things for the kids.
Yeah.
They love it.
Yep. And then, of course, your Barely Smooth, but make sure when you look at different ones, even if it's within the same brand, they could still have sweeteners in them. So just see and look at each one because all of these are excellent.
Again, when you're getting your milk, stay away from the organic cane sugars and things.
Unsweetened vanilla is the closest thing when you come to cooking to use, and either the almond or the coconut I've found is amazing, and they actually stock the one that we that is our favorite, which is the Cassava Farms unsweetened vanilla.
Before Mama Z talks about the Ultima, she loves that for her electrolytes. I want to encourage y'all to really stay away from fruit juice, 100%. Fruit juice should be like a treat. It's just, at the end of the day, I'd rather have the smoothie with the fiber and everything else. But if you want a little bit of fruit juice, if you like your mimosas, get your organic orange juice, that's fine once in a while. But I want to encourage y'all to really stick away from juice as a whole. If you're fasting or detoxing, that's where juice really comes into play. But a lot of people are developing diabetes, enamel issues because of all the extra sugars. But again, we want to get things in its whole form. And if you want a treat, I'll give you a little tip. We love Virgil's Stevia sweetened soda.
In the
is
glass.
Another one of God's gifts to humanity. I have not had soda in 15 years. I make my own, like Sabrina mentioned, a little bit of stevia, lemon essential oil, and carbonated water. But this is great, and I like to get it in the glass. I will tell you one thing, y'all. Let's try to stay away from aluminum cans because of not only the BPA, but I'm telling you, there is a connection between aluminum and Alzheimer's. And at this point,
if you've been in glass for a long time, you can taste the aluminum.
You want to keep things in glass
drink
as much as possible.
I'm writing that company because I'm so bummed. They're trying to compete with other companies.
I know, everyone
and
wants to
they
go
went all
cans.
To the,
but go to your electrolyte water quick and your favorite electrolytes, and we're good.
So I make an essential water concentrate. So I use fresh lemon or lime juice, and then I use I take a 1 gallon glass jug, and I use either distilled or purified water, and then I add 1 to 2 eyedroppers full of stevia to emulsify the essential oils. I use 10 drops of 2 different kinds of citrus essential oils, or I'll do 5 of each, like lemon, lime, grapefruit, and orange. And then I pour some Bragg apple cider vinegar in there, and that's my essential oil water concentrate. So when I make up, I like the glass. I use like the larger version of the Voss bottles. I fill my essential oil concentrate up with half. I do one of the little things full, but it's 1 liter. This, I think it recommends for like 1 8-ounce glass. It would literally taste like Jell-O. You don't need that much. This is enough electrolytes because it has 8 trace minerals in it. That is enough. And it's such a pick-me-up, and Patty was like, are you sure that Bragg apple cider vinegar? I'm not sure if I want to do that in my water. I'm like, just try this. You'll like it. What do you think?
It is so delicious.
It is, and it really helps pick you up. You would never, ever, even in a million years, if you were having the flu, you would not need Gatorade ever, 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 ever. This is a great thing. My dad and my mom, when they come down, they dehydrate themselves and they go to the bathroom 1 time in between Michigan and Georgia, and they fill up their car with gas once. And I'll never forget, 2 years ago, my dad came, and every 2 seconds his legs were seizing up with cramps and stuff like that. So he went and got the Gatorade, and I poured it out, and I put the Ultima in there instead, and I got him on Calm, because the Calm is one of my favorite things because we all have lactic acid in our bodies, and most women are somewhat magnesium deficient. So using the Calm, it is a binder, so you can't use it when you're eating food, and you can't use it when you're taking supplements, but it is a great way to get the lactic acid out of your muscles, through your bowels, out of your body. And so I gave him twice a day a Calm, and then every time he filled up his water thing, I did my stuff. And by the end of the 2nd day, no more cramps. And he was like, well, what was that stuff that you got? And he was like, well, you can get me that for my birthday. So every time it's birthday, or in the summer, that I ship them off a new set. But that's great. And when we're traveling, we also, like, I bring the water with us because you never know quite what you'll get whenever you go somewhere. And so in my one go bag, I have, I get the distilled water, and then I get the Hydrate pH 9 water. So when you're traveling, if you aren't sure what you're gonna get, I know like what my family goes through in a couple of days. We usually go through 2 to 3 gallons a day. And so like I'll get my starts, you know, from here always. And then I'll fill them up at different stores that they have, or they have a refill, or their health food store that has a refill on the water, just so you know. This is my favorite area. So this is the Cassava Farms one. This is our absolute favorite. It's the creamiest.
Yep.
This has been, I mean, it's fabulous to cook with. And this is our favorite. So what I get, a lot of people always ask me about eggs, about a lot of things. And the thing is that like these are the two really that I buy is this right here and the local ones. The local ones, if you've ever had some of the local eggs here, they're amazing. And the standards that they do, what they do is really awesome too. And we go through 4 dozen eggs a week in our household. So I've tried every egg under the sun, and I remember when we were first married, we had a friend that had, you know, they had given their, they had a great place that they raised their chicken and ducks, and we were getting eggs, and then the next week we had gotten eggs, and all of a sudden our gastrointestinal issues were like flaring up, and everything was feeling horrible. And come to find out, they had just started feeding their chickens the regular Tractor Supply feed instead of letting them forage and giving, if they needed anything else in the wintertime, doing organic. And it's a very big difference. So if you've always had problems with eggs, it could be the type of eggs that it is. So when you can and when they're back in stock, the local eggs here are absolutely amazing, and these are great too. And then of course, if you use the paper ones, that's how I start my seeds. So as I use the paper egg containers, and I actually use the plastic containers that they have for the big greens, I put them in there and I call those my mobile greenhouses. And that's how I start seeds in my sunroom. All right, so we've got our...
So the rule of thumb is stick with unsweetened things. Try to stick with unflavored things, so you could sweeten it naturally and you could flavor it naturally in general, because a lot of these drinks will have natural flavors in them. You don't know what they are, and chances are they could be synthetic essential oils and things.
Right.
So that's why we really like to incorporate, once you get the basics, because like Mom Izzy taught you, you could make your own version of this strawberry by having some dehydrated strawberries with a little bit of stevia, and you can make your own yogurt and save a lot of money.
And if you want to know the mind-blown secret right here, this is what we use for our ricotta cheese in our lasagna. And it whips the exact same way, and then it can be done in an anti-inflammatory way.
Yep.
If you do creamer or coffee, or even if you steep your own, chai and make your own like chai lattes.
Or matcha latte that
or
we have.
Or matcha lattes. The nut pods is a good one, and there's also different ones with the different flavor, but always make sure, again, non-sweetened.
A couple things, mayo and cheese.
Yep.
What are your recommendations?
Yep, so...
And they're coming out with so much. Like when I look at this stuff, like when we started living this way 15 years ago, there was like soy cheese.
There was like
and
rice
soy milk.
cheese, and then as soon as they started putting canola oil in it, it was like we had to
could do
stop it. We're
so
like,
much.
we no more cheese anymore.
There's so many nice options that you could find, whether it's cashew cheese or so many different things that you can make.
Yeah, so we do have a shelf-stable avocado mayonnaise that we have if anything runs out.
Primal Life, that was
Primal Life.
Primal Life's a good
and
one.
then
Avocado, we like
the
that.
grapeseed veganaise, and we'll use this in place of sour cream. This is our replacement for mayonnaise. This is what we use. I say we don't make deviled eggs over here. We make angel eggs, okay? Yeah. So, and that's,
we don't give the devil glory in our food.
No.
Angel eggs.
This brand is also pretty good. This is
Really?
and they actually have, besides the Parmesan, they have one that's coming out that is a feta one. And during the warmer months of the year, the Mycos brand, it's their other product. It's the Mycos brand, has one that's like a mozzarella ball. It's called the Mozz. It's so good and it's amazing. And so we'll do a mozzarella tomato salad, like a caprese salad with that. And then of course,
Dia slices for sandwiches
yeah, for
or whatever.
slices. Yeah, and you know, sometimes
We really like the Dia brand. We find that it is by large, it's the best compromise between real cheese and something that's made. And people, and we've, quite frankly, everyone, and if it passes her dad's test, again, if it passes Papa Frawley's test, you know it's good. And we make everything with Dia, and we also find the kids love it. It's delicious, it's healthy. We have not found any digestive issues. So again, we've tried a lot of this stuff, and we really like that brand.
For some people, it does have a little bit more oil. They have two different kinds. They have this melt and stretch one. This one is the most nutritious. The other one that they have is like a market style or whatever. And that one is a lot crispier and tighter. So for certain things, that is better. And other things, this one is better. But they also have the Jack style. So this is one of the ones that we use during Christmas because we actually really don't eat meat very often. We're much more plant-based, and so we have like chicken maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and we know where it's came from. We have turkey twice a year, and most of our turkeys have been named, or we order them from here, so we've known what their life was like and all of that stuff. So when we do a stuffed thing at Christmas, and this is what we use for that.
When you do make chicken or turkey, save the bones.
Yeah.
And my grandma taught me how to make broth. Again, you save a lot of money, so you don't have to buy this pre-made broth. Put all of the bones in a big stock pot, onions and carrots and celery and all of the stuff, and let it just soak and just simmer overnight.
And
we freeze it.
Yes.
So we'll have Thanksgiving broth for several months because we'll make a big vat of it. And so that's the other thing.
I have giant snowmen.
And that's free.
I think they're supposed to be muffins, but they're not. So
and you can get bones too. You go to Whole Foods and you go to other butchers. You ask them, say, "Hey, can I get some organic chicken bones?" And they'll give them to you. Either give them to you, or it's extremely discounted if you want to make your own broth. Because we know that broth is healthy, the collagen, but it's something that you guys shouldn't feel like you need to have every single day, especially the powders. We're 100% not a big fan of the bone broth protein.
And Jill frankly said that the reason why she has it is because it's very popular. But for the first 2 years of bone broth, and we know because we knew the people specifically, and they were all made with that manufactured it, and they were all made with genetically modified chicken bones. And that's why we would never put our stamp on it.
It's not like these are organically fed chickens in free-range environments. These are just conventional chicken bones that are being thrown away.
And it's a way of utilizing the byproduct.
So we'd rather make it.
I have to cook my bone broth outside. It just smells up.
Oh, you don't like it? Oh, I love the smell. It reminds me of Grandma.
I know, but, I live in RV, so so I've set it out.
You might have to cook outside.
Yes, that's
For one thing too, now get right there. One thing too, for those of you not on the fast track, again, for those of you following the meal plan, no sweets, and you're going to thank me for it. Once you start transitioning day 31 plus, this is heaven on earth. This is sweetened with maple syrup. It's a little bit of cocoa. Again, when I take my daughter out for a date, this is what we have.
We don't go
and we don't get ice cream or cakes at the store. But there's a lot of neat little sweets. We love the Hail Mary brand. And there's a lot of other, that's Mama Z's version. But again, it's sweetened with maple syrup. And so you'll find a lot of things that are sweetened with maple syrup and honey and other things that are natural. And yummy, yummy, yummy. Again, not on the fast track. You're going to thank me for it later. Sweeten. Oh, yeah, let me find it. Okay, you go finish.
Okay, we're going to go and get some refreshments.
Are we done?
And we'll
Anything
take
else?
any other questions. We can take questions here or over in the cafe.
Just a couple tips, especially for those people watching the video. In our time-saving meal prep plans, we just want to encourage you, make this a family approach, especially if you're married or if you have kids. Our kids love baking. Like our son Elijah is 6 years old. He just turned 6 in kindergarten. They're like, what do you want to be when you want to grow up? He wants to be a baker. He wants to he wants to bake healthy baked goods because we incorporate him when it comes to baking time.
Yeah, so
I'm sure he'll change his major 20 times before that.
We do a bake good day in the afternoon, one of the afternoons of the week.
Involving your kids. And I love your notes. Make an assembly line approach, because one thing that Sabrina does a good job is if we're having like quiche Monday, she'll make 4 of them. And we'll have quiche for Monday, but she'll freeze the rest and we'll have that ready for another time. prepare yourself for the inevitable. And we know life happens. You're not going to want to make your meals every single
and
day.
you can make them crustless quiches.
Yep.
You can just have a total variance with each thing that you do, depending on the people that like them.
Embrace leftovers. Now, she's not the leftover girl. I'm more of a leftover person.
I turn the leftovers into other things, and I can just
leftovers
give him
are
leftovers.
fantastic. So you want to, again, we want this to be easy for people. So it's like, it's daunting. People think I have to go start from scratch every single day. It's not that way at all, because yesterday's dinner can become today's lunch. Like, why not? Again, for those people who might be older, this is kind of how you were raised, and my mom raised me with that, what was it? The Great Depression mentality,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm thankful for that, because we don't waste and we also think ahead. And other than that, if you struggle with snacking, especially, set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
Keep the snacks out of sight. Like, do what we do for the kids. Maybe put them on the top shelf, so you got to
don't
go up.
buy them.
Yeah, but you have things. You can't expect everyone to not. You gotta snack a little bit.
He's a snacker.
You snack
And guess
too.
what? The funny thing was he had to get Invisalign. And so he had to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't sip and you can't snack, and
Yeah,
he
I
sips
can't
and he
eat and
snacks.
Yes,
So he had
I've
to
learned.
relearn all of that
But these
too.
are just little tricks that we've noticed, and also to help you not snack, have that sparkling water throughout the day with a little bit of grapefruit or lime essential oil and stevia. They'll actually fill up your tummy, and you think you're hungry, but you're not. You're really thirsty. So we find people eating a lot less because they drink just a little bit more, especially carbonated water fills you up. Other than that, I am grateful. Oh, we didn't talk about cauliflower crust pizza. The
Simple Mills
keep
brand.
your eyes open for Simple Mills cauliflower crust pizza. There's so many different things, y'all. I just want to thank you
Yes, thank you
locally for
guys
being
so
with
much.
us. Thank you for watching online and for getting the book. Share it with a friend. Leave some questions. You can contact us at support@naturallivingfamily.com. And I just can't wait to
Is there any other questions?
Yeah. share more. Yeah, any last minute questions?
For those that are bulletproof coffee drinkers, you had mentioned the collagen. What do you recommend for collagen within the bulletproof coffee?
So if you're a bulletproof coffee drinker, I would encourage one thing too. I'm more of a fan of a low acidic drink like a matcha green tea or herbal tea. But if you are on a bulletproof coffee, you can make it with the coconut oil, the MCT oil. You don't need the collagen. I mean, quite frankly. But if you wanted, again, I know Dave personally, and I know Dave does the best that he can to have the best product available. But one thing we actually try to do is on our plan, no coffee for the first month. And we really try to get people to a point where they don't need the coffee. And you'll be surprised how much energy you have. After you kind of detox through the need to have that caffeine, I didn't mention it before, but energy drinks, even if it's a quote, natural energy drink, we want to give our body the natural ability to give itself the boost that it should have. That's where peppermint essential oil comes into play in eating those foods.
But you'd be so surprised that matcha latte in a bulletproof style is
That's what we
powerful.
do. Yeah, we add a
Especially
little
with
bit of
peppermint
coconut
essential
oil, a little bit of creamer with matcha with hot water. We blend that up, and you had that.
It was wonderful.
Patty says it was wonderful. Live test subject.
Yeah,
we actually, I like
it's a
matcha.
fat-burning
We didn't
matcha.
talk
It's on
about
the
that
website, too.
We're huge fans of matcha. They help burn fat,
Yeah.
fights cancer, ancient. But for us, again, it's a preference. But yeah, we use coffee personally more as like a treat. Once in a while. But even the best coffee out there, I still find myself not feeling 100% after.
And the
It's like a
only
little
one
bit
that
of a
I can
spike,
do is
right?
the
And I don't.
bulletproof if
I'd
I
rather
need
have a
to do
nice
that.
natural energy bell curve than being a spike and crash. So anyway, I'm just trying to help people get off that habit, because I used to have to
That
live
and the,
on a pot of coffee a day just to get by, and I had to break myself off of that. So, any other questions before we wrap up?
I have one more quick question.
Yeah.
You've mentioned essential oils a few times. Is there a specific brand of essential oil that you guys recommend?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a lot of different essential oil brands that are really, really good. We actually have friends that own essential oil companies. One thing that we do is we're not branded at all by design. That gives us a lot of freedom to share a lot of the things about the health benefits of essential oils. And
we have a great article on our website, naturallivingfamily.com, on how to buy essential oils to give you all the different pointers so that you'll be able to make the best decision for you and your family.
Yeah, essential oils can be a game changer for a lot of people. You can consume them, you can, use them in a lot of different ways. It's just using them the right way. So we have a master class. My first book talks a lot about that. But good question.
Awesome.
So yeah, we just always skirt around that issue. because everyone wants to know. And you know, it's kind of funny, even Patty will testify, she was at the house doing the exercise class. Sabrina strips all the labels off of the oils that are in
I have
like
all
public.
non-branded bottles
have
that I
labels.
label.
People
And,
want to know, what oils do we use?
And I said, not even my friends know.
We actually use several different companies. So, yeah, any other questions?
Okay,
Thank
well, we
you.
thank you guys so much. We have some refreshments in the deli, which is one of our favorite places to go for date nights.